Hello everyone, it's Brian here with a video response to a vinyl tag started by Chris at Stylus Meets Vinyl. He's a fellow Canadian, which is kind of cool, and he's a channel I would recommend that you visit if you don't know it. He created a thread or a tag called If I Produced That Record, and when he created this tag he made this following statement: imagine you are an omnipotent record producer. Using these 8 questions below, tell me how you would change some of the records in your collection. So as I said, there's 8 questions, and I'm going to answer them right now. So a song that doesn't open an album, but should. And for that one, I'm going to choose the debut record from the Smiths, which is a great record, one of my favorite bands. Bizarrely, though, this album opens with Reel Around the Fountain, which, to be fair, is a great song. I really like it. And I think it deserves to be on this record. It's just bizarre to me that it's the first track. You would think that on your debut record, the first record that goes out to record stores to maybe play in their shop, this is the first track. This is the track you hear first, Reel Around the Fountain. It makes no sense. I think there are several tracks that would have been a better lead-off track, and I would choose What Difference Does It Make? But it could have been, there's like 3 or 4 other ones that should have been the lead-off track. But I would say What Difference Does It Make? I think the first time hearing this record, you would remember it better instead of this Reel Around the Fountain, which sort of meanders and it's very mellow, and it just seems like a strange choice to me. Number 2, a song that isn't a single, but should be, and there were a number of possibilities here. I almost chose Joy Division track, but in the end I chose one of my favorite records of all time, The Clash, London Calling. I think there were 3 singles from this record. And I would say almost every song on this record could have been a single, but I would say Lost in the Supermarket would have been a really cool single, and something to think about if they had another single to be released. Third question is record artwork that you would send back to the designer for a redo. Now, if you've watched this channel for a while, you may know that I did a one video on terrible album covers, and my intention is to finish that, to do more. I have a list of about maybe 35 or 40 album covers I think are pretty awful, and this one is definitely on the list, and I will get back to that. I did the first video maybe a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, but I will get back to it. So this one I thought of pretty quickly. The Stones, Dirty Work, and maybe this really represents my insecurity because I can't imagine myself wearing anything that any of the Stones are wearing on the cover. There's pink on the inside, by the way. So maybe that's more about me than about the record cover, but these bright colors, I'm not sure it really, I think it's kind of a weird choice, and let's leave it at that. A song that you would extend to make longer. There was no thought about this at all because it's the song I always think is way too short. I've always thought it was too short. I never understood why it was so short, and I thought this song could be 2 or 3 times longer and it would make me much happier. I chose this track from a compilation, but it appears originally on a different record, and that is Jimi Hendrix. The first track on this collection is Purple Haze, which I think is under 3 minutes, and I just don't understand that decision. That song should have been much, much longer. Such a great track, and yeah, I don't know, just seems way too short to me. All right, number 5 is a song you would cut to make shorter. A song you would cut to make shorter. Now, I wondered if this meant long songs we hate and you just want them to be shorter so they don't take so long, or long songs that you like that you think maybe go on a little too long. In the end, I chose a song that I'm not sure should even exist. That is a track called Moonchild off the debut King Crimson record from 1969 called Moonchild. It fits sort of in the middle. On the first track on side 2, so we have, 21st Century Schizoid Man, I Talk to the Wind, which is okay, Epitaph, in the Court of the Crimson King, but then Moonchild, which is this meandering piece. By the way, if you want to know more about this record, you should have a look at T-Cat's Deep Vinyl Tracks. He started the King Crimson series, and he discussed this record in some detail, and I think he also mentioned Moonchild perhaps wasn't the best track. But so that track, maybe if they cut it down by half or more, it might make more sense. It might be more listenable, but I've never really liked that track. A double album This is question 6. A double album you would condense into a single album. And the first thing that occurred to me is a triple record was the Clash Sandinista, which might be better as a double or even as a single. Thought about the White Album, but in the end I decided to mention The Wall from Pink Floyd from 1979, which I bought almost immediately after hearing the lead-off single here. I do like this record. I don't listen to it that often. And maybe that's because it goes on too long. I think that by the time you get to sides 3 and 4, it kind of loses a bit of the plot. Like there's some good tracks, like side 3, Comfortably Numb is good, Hey You, and we have Run Like Hell on side 4. But tracks like The Trial, Stop, Waiting for the Worms, The Show Must Go On. I think by then you get really tired of listening to it, and I think it's clearly a little bit too long, and perhaps a condensed single album would have been a lot better. Number 7, a record you would retitle. And again, this is the first thing that occurred to me when Chris read that one out, and that is Pete Townshend's All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes. A record title that kind of confounds me. I don't really understand what it's all about. Not a bad record, and some people pick this as their favorite Pete Townsend record. I wouldn't pick it as my favorite, but that that title is just very strange to me. So, I don't know. I would choose that one. Number 8, a song that doesn't end an album but should. And I will say the first thing that I thought of was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, because I think that record should end in the reprise of that track. But bizarrely, after that track, you get A Day in the Life, which seems like it was just added on for no reason. However, here we have Leonard Cohen's The Future from 1992, which I think is pretty much a masterpiece. Some of his best writing on here. Democracy, which I think is just a fantastic track. Anthem, Closing Time, The Future, amazing. But bizarrely, this ends with a track called Tacoma Trailer, which is this peaceful, inoffensive instrumental track that I think Leonard wrote on a Casio keyboard. It just meanders on for a few minutes and then fades away. And I think that's a weird thing to do to a record. The second last track is a track called Always, which is the Irving Berlin track, which he covers here. And I think that would have been a better ending track. I mean, Tacoma Trailer, I suppose you could put at the end of side 1, but even then I think it's weird. It just is a weird way to end a record. I don't even think it fits on this record at all. So that, to me, is a fairly confounding track, and I think it'd be much better with Always as the last track and just leave that out. So thank you for watching. Check out Chris's channel, and I'll talk to you next time.